As more companies are becoming aware of the size of their carbon footprint, they are looking into many different ways to shrink it. In today's society, being an environmentally friendly company is becoming increasingly important to consumers when choosing which companies they want to invest in and purchase products from. This means companies must make changes to their business processes in order to stay competitive and make a profit. These changes can severely impact how businesses interact with others and how their business processes with transportation and logistics will change. In some cases, businesses do not have a choice in the matter as more laws and regulations are being made and enforced internationally. For example, the World Resources Institute, who partnered with the Greenhouse Gas Protocol, announced that there are 2 new supply chain carbon emission standards they are releasing. One of which states that global carbon dioxide emissions must be cut by as much as 85% below 2000 levels by 2050. Other steps that businesses must take in order to meet their goal of shrinking their carbon footprint include consolidating their less-than-truckload shipments, researching logistics providers, optimizing truckloads, and utilizing rail or intermodal and backhaul. This affects international logistics because it is a change in their transportation. If a company looks into their supply chain partners and realizes that they are not taking any steps to change their carbon footprint, nor do they want to compromise, then the business may need to find another company to partner with. The laws and regulations are not the same for every country, so that is definitely something to look into when you decide who to partner with or source from. Another change that businesses are going to have to take into consideration is how they continue with logistics planning. In order to optimize their truckload or consolidate their less-than-truckload shipments, companies may need to purchase or ship more materials or products at a time. This way, they are lowering the amount of shipments they receive or send a year. This means coming to an agreement with your suppliers or retailers on a contract that states a new order quantity and reorder points, as well as maybe new modes of transportation. Although having less frequent shipments doesn't necessarily ensure their carbon footprint will shrink, so they must also take into consideration the energy efficiency of the vehicles that will be delivering them. Rail may be slower, but it could be more cost-effective for businesses and help with their attempt to lower their carbon footprint. A key competitive advantage that companies may need to forego in order to comply with the laws and regulations is their ability to deliver just in time. This is potentially a very important asset for the company, however, delivering more frequently could be hurting rather than helping them environmentally. If they could meet with their supplier or retailers and negotiate new terms, it will not only help decrease their carbon footprint, but also increase their relationship as partners in the new green supply chain.
Now we are going to look at XYZ, a fictitious company who manufactures hats in China and sells them throughout the U.S. and is trying to reduce their carbon footprint.
Good morning, employees. Globally, companies are trying to reduce their carbon footprint. But what is a carbon footprint and how do we reduce it? Carbon footprint is defined as the amount of greenhouse gases, specifically carbon dioxide, emitted by something in a given time period. According to the United States Environmental Protection Agency, greenhouse gases trap heat and make the planet warmer. But where do these emissions come from, and what activities are we doing that emit these gases? Sustainability is a part of 70% of corporate agendas worldwide, including ours. This is important because global emissions have more than doubled since 1970. The largest source of greenhouse gas emissions is burning fossil fuels for electricity, heat, and transportation. Globally, the largest contributors to greenhouse gas emissions are electricity and heat production, industry activities, which includes both direct emissions at facilities, like ours in China, and indirect emissions that are off-site but are related to the facility's use of energy, agriculture and land usage, and transportation. Collectively, these 5 economic sectors account for 84% of greenhouse gas emissions globally. Now, our supply chain team is going to explain this initiative and how we plan to implement reducing our carbon footprint.
As you all know, we manufacture our hats in China and then transfer them to the U.S. by air. From there, we distribute them all throughout the U.S. to our retail locations by truck. We've come to the conclusion that our biggest contributor to our carbon footprint is transportation. So, our initiative to reduce our carbon footprint is going to focus on transportation.
In order to reduce our carbon footprint, we are going to be shipping goods by water instead of air, which has a much higher greenhouse gas emissions than water. In addition, our ships will use slow steaming, which reduces the speed at which goods are shipped, to reduce the fuel intake. If we decide to use shipping, and especially if we use slow steaming, we will need to reevaluate our inventory management systems and order quantities to account for the longer lead times. By increasing our order quantities and making less frequent shipments, we will be reducing our carbon footprint. Once in the U.S., we can ship from rail, which has significantly lower emissions, to a distribution center that can handle the truckload shipments to the retailers. All of these changes, of course, have trade-offs. Increasing the shipment time means longer lead times and a higher probability of stockouts. Using more transportation modes means more touch points and more instances for damaged goods. Increasing the EOQ means that we need to add a distribution center, which we did not have before, which will add cost. While some of these trade-offs are inevitable, we will be addressing the issues as they arise.
One final way to help you envision reducing your carbon footprint is to think of it as a weight loss program.
We interrupt this video for a message from our sponsor.
Then, throughout this process, we will be analyzing our progress and making changes as needed.